You wake up burning with fever. No pharmacy exists, no doctor, no hospital. For most of human history, this was normal.
And yet, somehow, they survived. Long enough to have children who had children, who eventually became you. So how did our ancestors handle sickness before medicine ever existed? The answer is stranger and cleverer than you'd think.
First, forget the image of helpless cavemen dying at every sniffle. That picture is almost completely wrong.
Our ancestors were sharp observers of the natural world, watching which plants healed and which ones harmed.
Think of it as thousands of years of trial and error, recorded not in books, but in memory and stories. Let's start with pain. Imagine a pounding headache with no aspirin bottle in sight. What could you possibly do?
You'd walk to a willow tree, strip its bark, and chew it. Bitter, yes, but it worked.
Willow bark contains salicin, the natural chemical cousin of aspirin. Our ancestors found real medicine without ever understanding the chemistry. That's the pattern everywhere. Long before science explained why, humans already knew that many things simply worked. Now think about a deep, bleeding wound. In a world crawling with bacteria, infection was the real killer. So they reached for something sweet and surprising. Honey. Ancient healers smeared it directly onto open wounds. Honey draws water out of bacteria and slowly releases hydrogen peroxide, quietly killing germs. It's still used in medicine today. Some groups packed wounds with moss, others with clay or ash, each a rough but real barrier against decay. But what about broken bones, with no plaster casts and no metal pins to hold everything together? Archaeologists find ancient skeletons with fractures that healed cleanly, straight and strong, proof someone set and splinted them. A healed bone tells us something profound. That person was cared for while helpless, fed and protected for weeks. That care itself was a kind of medicine. Community survival meant carrying the sick, not abandoning them. Now let's talk about the most dramatic ancient surgery of all, drilling a hole into a living human skull. It's called trepanation, and thousands of ancient skulls carry these carefully drilled holes across every continent on Earth. Even more astonishing, the bone around many holes had healed, meaning patients survived the operation and lived on. We're not fully sure why they did it. Perhaps for headaches, seizures, or to release evil spirits. Which brings us to belief. To ancient people, sickness wasn't just biology. It was spirits, curses, and unseen forces. So the healer wasn't only a herbalist. They were a shaman, part doctor, part priest, part storyteller. Rituals, chants, and dances filled the sick room. And strangely, that theater of healing often genuinely helped patients recover. We now call this the placebo effect. Belief itself can lower pain, calm the body, and boost real healing. So even ceremonies with no chemistry behind them still had power, because the human mind shapes the sick body. But let's be honest, for all their cleverness, ancient life was brutally short and painfully dangerous. A simple tooth infection could spread to the jaw and kill you. Their skeletons show us the agony. Childbirth was a mountain of risk. Many mothers and babies never survived that single dangerous night. Diarrhea, which we barely fear today, could drain a child's body of water in a matter of hours. So they learned. Some cultures gave the sick broths, salty liquids, and boiled water to replace what was lost. Fasting, sweating, and steam were common too. Some built sweat lodges to burn a fever out of the body. Not all of it worked, of course. Plenty of ancient remedies were useless or downright harmful. But natural selection did something quiet and ruthless. It slowly filtered out the treatments that killed too many people. The remedies that survived were the ones that actually helped. A rough, brutal, real-world clinical trial. Consider a frozen iceman found in the Alps, over 5,000 years old, preserved with all his belongings. In his pouch sat a fungus known to fight parasites. His gut, scientists later found, was full of them. His tattoos, too, cluster on joints worn by arthritis, hinting at an ancient pain relief practice etched into skin. This single frozen man became a time capsule, showing us just how thoughtful ancient healthcare truly was. Across the world, this knowledge grew into vast healing traditions, from herbal texts to detailed catalogs of plants. Even chimpanzees, our closest relatives, swallow rough, bitter leaves that scrape parasites from their guts, which means self-medication may be older than humanity itself, a survival instinct woven deep into our ancestry. So picture yourself, truly, as an ancient human. You feel the first shiver of fever creeping in. You'd chew bitter bark for the ache, sip warm broth for strength, trust the healer's steady, familiar chant. And you'd be surrounded, not left alone, by a group whose survival depended on keeping you alive. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But rarely did anyone face their sickness completely alone. That togetherness may be the most important medicine of all, the invisible force that carried our species forward, because a single wounded human alone in the wild rarely survives, but a group can carry the fallen. And here's the twist we often forget. Many modern medicines still trace back to those ancient plant discoveries. Aspirin from willow, malaria drugs from bark, painkillers from poppies. The old knowledge never truly disappeared. Our laboratories didn't replace their wisdom. They refined it, purified it, and finally understood why it worked. So the next time you swallow a pill, remember, you're finishing a story someone began beside a fire. Every cure we trust today rests on the shoulders of countless ancestors who guessed, suffered, and slowly learned. They had no microscopes, no textbooks, no clean instruments, only sharp eyes, patient minds, and deep care. And somehow, with those simple tools, they kept the fragile thread of human life from ever breaking. So the real question isn't how they survived without medicine. It's how much medicine they invented without knowing it. Sickness has shaped us since the very beginning, and our answer has always been ingenuity, woven with compassion. If this made you see our ancestors differently, subscribe and join us as we rediscover the human story. Next time you feel a little sick, remember, healing began not in a lab, but around an ancient fire.